Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason. I'm speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And in this episode, I'm continuing my ranking of the Beatle songs, ranking all the Beatle songs from worst to best. This is the second video. I'm doing 8 songs again, number 205 to 198. Again, these are songs in the category I would call bad Beatle songs that I really do not like and do everything I can not to listen to them. Yeah, so some of these you might like. Sorry, and I love the Beatles, but they do make some really bad musics at points. And so I'm going to go through some of these. A lot of these songs have somewhat connection to each other, so I kind of bundle them together. So we start with number 205, number 2 and 4 kind of connect each other. Number 205, I'm putting Polythene Pam, and 204, I'm putting Mean Mr. Mustard on my list. Of course, Mean Mr. Mustard and then Polythene Pam come right after each other on the Abbey Road album. The second side of the Abbey Road album has a kind of a medley of songs, a lot of short songs that just kind of go, and there's this idea that they're supposed to flow into each other, all these different songs. So a lot of Beatle fans look at that side as almost like one song in a way, because each song flows into each other. And so I think most Beatle fans would say it's more enjoyable listening to all of it together than the individual songs themselves. I think that's definitely true of these 2 songs. These are like 2 of the first songs on that medley, I believe. It starts with Mean Mr. Mustard and it goes right into Polythene Pam. Even Mean Mr. Mustard, he mentions someone named Pam, so interesting connection there that they mention Pam and Mean Mr. Mustard, and then they have Polythene Pam right afterwards. I put these as towards the bottom of my list because they both are just over a minute, like minute 10, minute 20. So they're very short songs, very incomplete songs, obviously. And I have to take them as individual songs. If I take them as individual songs, there's just nothing really to them. Kind of filler songs. Feels like they just something strange that John wrote. Both are John songs, really. Lennon McCartney, but both were John kind of written and sung songs. It's just kind of weird songs that he liked to write at this point, I think. And he didn't write them to really, like I said, really complete a song with, a verse, chorus, verse, whatever. It was just, a verse and maybe a chorus at the most to them. And as I said, my least favorite Beatles songs were these incomplete Beatles songs. Like the last video I had, like Diggin' Maggie May, those were really short. Those were like 30-second songs. I put a little above because at least they put over a minute into them, so it felt more of a song, but yet still not complete. Still too short to really call it a song, a complete song to me. And yeah, both of them, just nothing to them really, lyrically, vocally, musically, just really, like I said, throwaway songs that I just don't care to listen to. Trying to look at the backstory, then Polythene Pam kind of goes from a girl that they knew in the Cavern Club named Pat who liked to eat polythene, which I'm not even sure what polythene is. It's like, I thought maybe it was gum, maybe it's candy, because she liked to chew it, maybe. Anyway, they called her Polythene Pat. And then he also had some inspiration, I don't know, influence from a girl that John knew named Stephanie, who was the wife or girlfriend of a poet. Anyways, and so I was reading the story of that. I didn't quite understand how that had anything to do with it, but somehow it was like those 2 women John was thinking of when he wrote the song. The only thing is interesting, but the funny about the song is that it's Polythene Pam. She's good looking, but she looks like a man. And it's like, what? How can you be good looking and look like a man if you're a woman? If you're a woman, you don't want to look like a man usually. It's not the case. Yeah, at least for me, I don't want a woman that looks like a man. So that's kind of a funny line in there. Don't quite understand what this deal is with Polythene Pam, but yeah, just nothing song. The Mean Mr. Mustard, I said, I don't quite understand. There's really not much story to it. It's just something John came up with. He loved coming up with characters and stuff. And Mustard sleeps in the park, shaves in the dark. He's kind of a dirty old man. I don't know, not necessarily someone. It almost sounds like a homeless guy, but not necessarily maybe what he's going for. But I always thought it sounded just like some homeless guy. That was a little creepy, maybe, but I don't know. Again, nothing really to that song. Number 203 on my list is The One After 909, which came on the Let It Be album. This song is a song that John and Lennon and McCartney wrote back in the 50s when they were the Quarrymen and they were first starting to write songs together. This was a song that they wrote about. The One After 909 is about a train, the 909 or the one after 909, and like waiting for their girlfriend. It sounds like coming on the train. Yet there seems to be some strife between them and the girlfriend. Anyways, it's a simple song, not much to it lyrically, really. Musically, it's definitely it's weird. It comes on Let It Be, like one of the last albums of the Beatles, and yet it's a song that kind of somewhat retro back to the 50s rock style. So I don't like that 50s rock style doesn't sound very good for the Beatles when the Beatles were making some of the greatest music of the 60s. And it was just a song that they wrote. It wasn't really that good to ever appear on an album, but they kept it along, and finally, I don't know, I guess they were trying to find some filler songs for Let It Be, and they said, hey, remember that song we wrote a long time ago, The One After 909? And they just put it on there. Yeah, it's just another forgettable Beatles song, not much significance to it, except for how old it is. Probably the oldest Beatles song on a record, which is, I guess, interesting trivia. Yeah, not much to say on that one. Number 202 is my first Ringo song. I say Ringo song, meaning the first song that Ringo sang, Honey Don't, which came off of the Beatles for Sale album. This is a cover song. I think it's the first cover song I've talked about on here. It was written and first originated by Carl Perkins, which is kind of a 50s rock guitar player of that time. This was the B-side to Blue Suede Shoes, which was Carl Perkins' biggest hit for sure. Obviously made really big by Elvis Presley, but it was also a hit for Carl Perkins. Anyways, and this was the B-side to it. George, all the Beatles were like big fans of of Perkins. He was an influential rock. He was a good rock guitar player at that time, and they loved him. I know, especially George Harrison always talks a lot about how much he loves Carl Perkins, like his favorite musician. And so it's not even one of Carl Perkins' probably bigger hits, "Honey Don't," that they covered on stage when they were back in late 50s, early 60s when they went to Hamburg and stuff and Cavern Club and they were playing concerts. This is one of the many cover songs that they did of Carl Perkins. And when they're doing Beatles for Sale, I think it was one of those. It's such a strange album in that it's right in between two juggernaut albums, A Hard Day's Night and Help. And then you have Beatles for Sale right in between. And the whole thing was that they did A Hard Day's Night, which was all like 13 Lennon McCartney songs, no cover songs at all. And because they're contracted to do 2 albums a year, they were kind of forced to kind of rush in another album by the end of that year, 1964, and so they could only do a half album, basically do half cover songs, half originals, and so they just, of course, always go to the cover songs that they did on stage over and over again. They're pretty easy to reproduce on a record because they knew them so well. And so one of them ended up being Honey Don't. The interesting thing I didn't know was doing research is that when they sang this on stage, John Lennon did the vocals for Honey Don't. So Ringo usually didn't do the vocals at all. But they had to have one Ringo song. They came up with this idea that we had to have one Ringo song every album. And so they came up with Honey Don't would be the best song for him. Probably because vocally it's not like super vocal range on it, which, sorry to say about Ringo, he was just the worst singer of the Beatles. And nothing against Ringo, it's just that wasn't his thing. He was a drummer. That was all he cared about was drumming. Didn't care about writing songs really. Didn't care about being a lead singer, But I don't know, they came with this idea that he needed a song every album, so they give him the one song that they think he vocally could do. So it's not usually the best song on the album. I think he got better vocally as he went on. Once you get to Revolver, I guess, with Yellow Submarine, and then Sergeant Pepper's with A Little Help from My Friends, Octopus's Garden, and Abbey Roads. I think vocally he definitely was better. Never as good as John and Paul, of course, are always going to be the best. But this is definitely early Ringo to me, and his vocals are really terrible on the song. That's why I put it as one of my least favorite Ringo song and worst song of cover songs, I guess. It's just vocally, he just wasn't there. And like I said, I think they rushed it. They're just like, okay, we just got to get this album out quickly. So I doubt they took too many takes. They're like, let's do one take, good enough, let's move on. And it's a Ringo song, so we don't need to be, great. But, uh, it's, yeah, it's just everything about this just sounds so old style. Of course, it's Carl Perkins, it's 50s rockabilly, which I just don't care for Carl Perkins, don't care for that rockabilly sound that he had. And so this sound I just did not like. Didn't even like the guitar playing George. Usually I like George's guitar playing, but I didn't like the sound. Just the overall sound, just I didn't care for. It just didn't sound very polished to me. Because it's mostly a Ringo, and then George does the guitar solo. And one of the things people like most about the song is that Ringo says, "Rock me one more time, George." So he's being self-referential, referring to George as the guitar player in the band. So it almost sounds like he's doing a live concert and he's saying, "All right, George, do solo." George does solo. So definitely are going for like this live version kind of effect, instead of just a studio version, which makes it kind of a fun song for many, but to me it's just, I don't know, just a song I just can't stand. That's number 202, Honey Don't. Now the next four are all George Harrison songs. And this kind of comes to a period of his time where he did these very experimental songs that kind of lacked because he became a great songwriter and obviously great guitar player. Vocally, like I said, I think he got better at this period of time. But in between the really great songs, he made these four really bad songs, in my opinion. The first two I kind of connected because, of course, George Harrison got into Hinduism. He got into playing the sitar. He got into this Indian music. And so he had a couple of songs with Indian influence in it. And so at 201, I have The Inner Light. And at 200, I have Within You, Without You. Inner Light was the B-side to Lady Madonna. Within You, Without You was on the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. It was the only George Harrison song on that album, in fact. At this point, he didn't contribute as much because he was so into the Hindu and Indian music at that time. He traveled to India, got into transcendental meditation. And so he's really into that. And so I think that really hurt his music. He lacked really good music until Abbey Roads, and then he comes out with Something, and Here Comes the Sun, his two best songs ever, and also, While My Guitar Gently Weeps. So he had some great songs in that period, but he had a lot of his worst material. And I think these two, I just don't like the Indian sound music on these two songs, and I find it very boring. It's just like, I don't like that kind of music. I like rock music and pop music and folk music, and this just doesn't fit my category. Definitely was, experimental, like I said, very, you knew it was going to be polarizing, I'm sure, when George came out with this, and they put it on, a single or on the record. They definitely were risky. It was a very risky move, I think, and the Beatles were so good, so popular, they can do risky moves, and it wouldn't hurt them, so they were able to do it. I think it hurt George, though. I think, to me, it made him worse in my eyes. Of course, he got a lot better, like I said, with Abbey Roads, made him sound like he was one of the best songwriters ever with that album. But The Inner Light is come off of a Hindu poem called The Inner Light, and some, Hindu philosophy poem thing. So he kind of took that poem and made this song, The Inner Light, which is, I think, it's a pretty short song, if I remember right. Not a lot lyrically to it. Like I said, and of course I have to say, like, as a Christian, like, I don't care for the Hindu philosophy or the Hindu religion, don't care for transcendental meditation, you know, think it's a lot of hogwash to me. You know, that's just my opinion. So I just don't care about this period of George Harrison's life. Within You Without You is another one, which, again, definitely a Hindu philosophy type song, about the space between us, and I don't know, very philosophical conversation he's having there. The thing I don't like is all the Indian music that's in between the lyrics, that I don't care for at all. Within You Without You, what's even worse about that is that's a 5-minute song, which is kind of long. And it really feels like it drags towards the end of that song. You're just like, man, I just can't wait till the song. In fact, I think there's a point where you're thinking, okay, I think the song's over, and then it keeps going for like another minute or two, and you're like, oh my gosh, when's this song going to end? That's always my feeling on Within You Without You. If it was shorter, it might not have been so bad, but yeah, it's not my kind of music. And then 199 is Blue Jay Way, came off the Magical Mystery Tour album. Song about Blue Jay Way was a airplane or airline that he was waiting for. I forget it was a friend or something like that arriving on this airplane, and so he wrote the song about, you know, don't take too long, you know, and talking about Blue Jay Way. And it's another song where it's like you wouldn't know that was a Beatles song until you listen, and you go, oh, I forgot that song existed. That's one of those songs where I'm like yeah, it's definitely one of the most forgettable Beatles songs that you never hear about or, you know, talk about. George Harrison has there's kind of a weird effect to his voice in the song that I don't know, just didn't care for, and just lyrically, musically, just didn't have much to it. Not much contribution from the other Beatles, so I don't know. It's just one that I just never cared for. And then the last song I'm gonna talk about, 198, is another George Harrison song called Piggies. Comes off of the White Album. It's a very weird song. I'm talking about look at the piggies in the dirt, talking about pigs, but it's supposed to be like a metaphor for social commentary on the middle class, I think. And look at those piggies in the dirt, and someone should give them a good whack, which, like, what? Which sounds very violent. It's not much to it lyrically, like I said. It's a very weird song. At one point they kind of do this weird accent, weird voice when they're singing, I guess trying to sound like pigs or something, and I think there's some oinking in there, and I don't know, it's a very weird song and very forgettable, again, and it's a White Album, so that's where all the weird kind of experimental songs go on, I think, and that's what George Harrison was doing here. And George Harrison, of course, likes to write about things like that, more, you know, philosophical, social commentary. Yeah, it's just a very annoying song to me, I guess. That's why I have it on here. The only interesting thing through research is that, of course, Charles Manson took a lot of these songs, like Helter Skelter and Piggies, you know, and kind of used it for his, you know, evil philosophy, you know, killing, you know, and thinking that there's going to be some kind of civil war going on. And he used this, he loved this part about someone needs to give him a good whack. He saw that as violence, need to kill people. And so, in fact, at one of the places he killed people, they wrote Piggies on, I don't know, maybe in blood, wrote Piggies somewhere. So it was definitely like a big influence on Charles Manson, unfortunately, which George Harrison obviously never meant to happen. So that was, I think, kind of interesting, unfortunately. But yeah, so that's my last song there, 198, Piggies. And so the end of this one, do another video continuing my rankings of the Beatles. I just barely scratched the surface. So please comment. What do you think? Are these bad Beatles songs? Am I out of my mind? I'm sure I am. So feel free to comment what you think, and I'll enjoy reading them. And just thank you for watching the video, and thank you to subscribers for supporting this channel. And I just really appreciate you, and have a good day.